So two fantastic local entrepreneurs that we have in store for you, two local businesses, and we'll be talking with them just about their journeys, the unique nature of their businesses, and just everything you could want to know.
You said Aqua Seville, right? And so I look at Jeff and I said, boy, he could literally be Aquaman. I mean, I don't know if he likes Aquaman. I love that guy. I mean, it's just, so I said, wow, he's
Being
tall, he's got the beard.
Fan,
He's got to grow his hair a little longer to look like that guy and then jump into cold water, that's all. There you go. But anyway, this is going to be good. Going to be a lot of fun today.
It is. So make sure to like and share. Send us any comments. So, I mean, Xavier and I, at the beginning of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about
happy things, right?
Well, happy things. I think an investment challenge we haven't tackled before, which is when not to buy something.
Right. Well, that is very important.
Which is very important, and sometimes it's easy to overlook on that end. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But if you have any questions, comments, be sure to share with us, let us know, put it in the feed, and we will relay it. I will relay it to Xavier this way if there's any difficult questions.
That's right. I can't do two things at the same time.
Myself.
I can be looking at the computer, speaking, and thinking. Oh boy, that's three. That's tough.
Exactly. That's too much. A little too much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're really excited to have you joining us this morning. It's a chilly morning, so a good morning, as I always say, to grab your café con leche or whatever makes you warm, and just have a seat and join us on this show.
Today Mañana makes it warm all the time, right?
It's true. Today Mañana
cozy.
is
always
warm
cozy
and cozy
in here.
all the time. That's the goal, to be warm and cozy with Today Mañana all the time. And just really appreciate being here on the I Love Seville set with Judah behind the camera. And of course, as always, we're presented by Emergent Financial Services, and we were powered by Cristal Noel State Farm Agency, by Vite Spirits, by GBS Financial Services, our friend Johan Torres, and by Seville Picnic. So be sure to check them out and thank them. And of course, we're always partnering with Ford Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So just a jam-packed show
That's right.
we have for you today.
I'm going to have to speak a little faster than usual, right?
I don't know. We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out what's going on here. And just two people that I think are going to be really passionate about their businesses. I'm going to share a little bit about that with us today. We're going to be joined shortly by Jeff Tamrath, the owner of Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash, and by Craig Colberg, the owner of 12 Ridges Vineyard. So two fantastic small businesses here in Charlottesville, or in our area, I should say. But first, one of the things we always have is our little opening financial topic, and I think we've covered a lot of things over time, and we've done everything from Roth conversions and financial planning and things you should think about when purchasing stocks or bonds. But today I think we're going to be covering something I don't think we've quite covered before, which is to think about how important it is to sort of not pull that trigger and not go into a sector or a stock. Because I think it's something that never shows up in the radar, right? When you go back and look at your portfolio for the end of the year, you'll see that stock you picked that went up 30% or that stock you picked that went down. But you'll never see there that stock you didn't pick and what it did. It doesn't show up in the portfolio, and something that I know has been on your mind a little bit lately.
Well, this actually came about from when we were on Real Talk, right? And I know somebody had also asked a question about Evergrande, and of course the thought of the Chinese decision we made this year. And so I remember being back in 2001, we were, we had one of our better years that year, one of our best years, I should say, right? And we were like a top 10 in the country. And every time I went to a client meeting, they'd say, Xavier, I kind of go through the portfolio and it didn't seem like you hit any home runs, but you're like the best, So what happens is, well, sometimes it's the decisions that you make that you don't see in the portfolio that make a big difference. And so back then it was, Enron and MCI, for example. And when you look back on the Enron situation, the bottom line was that, they were essentially
Enron
came
was
out to
basically
be
cooking their books.
yeah, they were
Sense.
cooking. Yeah, it was an accounting gimmick, right, where they kept saying that everything was off balance, right? So I kept looking at the numbers and I said, well, this is just not making sense. And I'd have all the analysts come in and they say, well, yeah, but look at the business on the side, what they're doing. And I'm saying, if it's such a good business, why isn't it on their books? I mean, it didn't make sense to me. And I said, as good as it looks and as good as everybody tells me that this is a great company, I didn't see the transparency. The numbers, weren't clear to me. And I said, I can't make the decision to go into this particular bond at that point in time. And whole and behold, within a few months or whatever, 6-7 months, obviously they filed for bankruptcy. And when you have a bond situation where, those bonds were trading at, 100, 102, when you go from 100, 102 to zero, huge impact, right, on somebody's portfolio, on the indexes that you try to track. So not having that bond makes a big deal, right? And so, I sit here today, obviously we heard, Evergrande is officially in bankruptcy.
Real estate company.
Exactly. Is officially in bankruptcy today, right, because they didn't pay their coupon payment. And so, again, you and I made a decision, well, the whole firm made a decision, I think it was back in around June, that because of what was happening in China with,
financial reporting,
financial
basically,
reporting.
that their companies were no longer provide third-party audited financial statements. They would provide government-provided.
Exactly. They wouldn't allow you to take a look at the numbers and the and the balance sheet and the accounting statements of companies. You had to just take their word. And you say, okay, I mean, that's fine. I'll take their word for it. But first of all, it's a government.
I'll take it with a grain of salt.
But first, it's not only is it a government, and you know how I feel about all governments, but in particular when it's a communist government where they come first, right? Their people come first, they come first, and we know that they also have hidden many things. So you say, before I continue to invest in a country where I cannot find out enough information to see how things are going, right? I'm going to just step aside. And again, it could be the wrong decision, but it's a decision that we make because there's just no transparency, right? I mean, let's face it, there's no due process and no rule of law in China. And when that happens to a country and you sit here and go, can I truly invest in those particular equities of that country without knowing what's going on with each and one of those companies? The answer is no. I mean, if a client comes to me and says, why did you invest in this? Because listen to this. I mean, so I believe since June or early July, I think the S&P is up about 7%, the Dow is up about 9%. One of the Chinese stock indexes is down 20% in that time period and 43% for a different index. That's a huge difference. So in other words, if you were invested in any of those particular indices, in particular equities of those particular that are in those indices, I mean, you're down 40% and 20%.
Well, and the issue even more than that is your client comes to you and says, okay, you're down, this part of my portfolio is down 40%. Why did you invest in it? What did you see that you wanted? Your answer is much more difficult if you say, well, I didn't really have any financial statements I trusted. I didn't know what the sales of these companies were because it was provided to me by, the Chinese Communist Party was providing these statements, and I didn't really look into it. But I thought it was a good little bet there. It's like, that's not really going to fly. We all make decisions that sometimes you purchase stocks, you go into a sector that doesn't do well. But at least afterwards, you're able to say, well, this is my rationale.
Exactly.
In other words, clean energy, right? Clean energy hasn't done as well this year as it did last year. But a financial advisor can make a rationale and say, well, long term, here's why I think clean energy is a good idea. Here's why I want to be invested. I want to invest my clients in clean energy. And here's the companies that are there, and here's the sales they're doing, here's the products they have. When you're facing something of potential delisting of Chinese state-owned companies and companies where you sit there and say, this sales number could be real or this sales number could be bogus, and nobody's allowed to audit this sales number, how do you then say, yes, this was a really great long-term bet because their sales look great? Well, nobody audited those sales.
Exactly. And that's our point. And so the whole point here was that, sometimes one makes decisions that don't appear, right, on your statements. You don't see them, right? But the decision not to invest in something is sometimes as important as the decision to invest in other particular sectors or markets or whatever. So again, it's the important thing is to, as you mentioned, to be able to understand and have a rationale why you're investing in a particular sector, right? Whether it be robotics, clean energy, just regular energy, right? High tech, whatever it may be, there has to be a rationale. You have to have a reason for it. And again, the markets can go down, they can go up, but over a period of time, you know why you're doing it. When you're investing in something that you are clueless, right? You have to scratch your head and say, why? I mean, you have no information that proves to me that you made this decision based on not only rational information but full information.
And it makes it more difficult to then make future decisions on that, because let's say you purchase a company on the basis of rationale. Okay, I like that this company is producing this product which looks like it will sell this well. If 6 months from now a company starts down, you go look at it and you say, is the product still there? Is it still selling well? Yes, I'm going to hold it. Is the product, did they close this product line that I was excited about? Is this product not selling well? Well, now I have a rational basis to change my decision. And so if you don't have that information, if you don't go into it with a rationale and say, well, this feels great to me. 6 months from now it's not doing as well, how do you decide what to do? Do you go by, now I don't feel great, but should I hold it? Should I sell it? It's a much more difficult decision to make because you never had a rationale to buy it in the first place.
And let's be honest, there are still many investment advisors that believe in investing in Asia and China in particular. And I respect their opinion. I just respectfully disagree with that opinion, right? So it's not. And again, I mean, China's returns may be off the charts next year. Who knows? But from our perspective, again, if we just don't feel confident with the information we're getting, we just don't feel confident that we should invest in that sector. Yeah.
And it's an interesting concept because, like you said, it doesn't show up anywhere, right? There's no. So let's say, a Chinese index went down 20% and you didn't buy it. There's no plus 20 on the portfolio at the end of the year. It's like plus 20% for not buying this. It doesn't show up there.
Exactly.
You just have to know yourself, then say, and sort of analyze always your decisions and look back and say, oh, you know what? That's a minus 20 that I avoided.
Exactly.
So in some ways it's like the first thing that came to mind was like football, right? And in football, if you don't fumble the football, it doesn't show up anywhere. If you have like a really sure-handed running back and he never fumbles, it doesn't actually show up anywhere on his stat sheet. You're not going to be like, this guy has plus 20 times he could have fumbled but didn't fumble the ball.
True.
But it has a value because if he fumbles the ball, it's bad.
Yeah.
Right? So you sit there and say it's a value that's added but that you really can't find on a stat sheet, but it's there. You have to look back and say, you know what? This guy is a steady hand. And you kind of know it intuitively. This guy's a steady hand. He's not going to fumble the football. And in some ways, you have to know it intuitively and say, hey, you know what? Let me go back and look at that. And that was, in fact, a prudent decision.
Exactly. And again, between Evergrande and there's another, I think a Kaiser Group also was filed for bankruptcy. And both are Chinese companies. Again, those are indications that things aren't going very well right now over there. And so it's probably best to avoid that sector anyway right now, even if you trust what the Chinese government is giving you on numbers.
Some of the numbers are objectively not good.
Exactly. So what's happening there right now is not, I guess I should say, not
ideal.
Not good, not ideal. Yes.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
It's not the most ideal environment conducive to growth.
Exactly.
To be sure. Oh, we got some great some people watching us. Wow, we have someone watching us as far from Spain today.
Oh.
We have a viewer in Spain, Marta.
Marta
is viewing us from Spain.
So can I say hola? You think
hola, Marta.
Hola, Marta.
Hola, Marta. ¿Cómo está? And we've got Johnny Ornelas watching. Thank you, Johnny, for watching. Friend of the program. And Leslie Acton. Thanks for watching today, Leslie. So we've got some worldwide audience today. Thanks to Marta in Spain. Thank you for watching us. And a perfect time.
Absolutely.
To do our little
I can't wait. Yes. I mean, I'm looking forward to this now.
To bring one of our first guest international. And so our first guest is Jeff Kamrath. He's the owner of Aquasivo Hand Car Wash, and we are really excited to welcome him to the show. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. We're glad to have you on. So, for those who don't know about you, tell us just a little bit about yourself, how you started Aquasivo.
Great question. Well, I'm going to start with this. Today is my 10-year anniversary with my
congratulations.
Wonderful wife, Ginger.
Congratulations.
So I want to get that one out first. So have to do that, take care of the family. How do we get started at Aqua? So most of the credit has to go to my older brother, Kevin, back in Houston, where I'm from originally. I grew up there, was born and raised there before I came to Virginia. And Kevin had this dream years and years ago about opening car wash businesses. And I sat with him when I was just coming out of my baseball career to decide, were we going to actually be in business together or not? And for whatever reason, we were looking at doing tunnel washes at the time. It wasn't coming together. So I went on and moved back to Virginia and started doing some other things. And he ended up pivoting from tunnel washes to hand washes. And so he created, he has 2 hand washes in Houston, Texas. They're fantastic. If anybody's in Houston, check them out. Same name, Aqua Car Wash. And then once I got done with my first real job, I guess you would say, coming back from New York, living in Charlottesville, deciding with my wife that we wanted to start contributing more to the community that we live in. I was working remotely for a company called Game Changer, which was acquired by Dick's Sporting Goods, and I was working remotely and just wasn't feeling connected, right? As somebody who went to school here, went to UVA, part of the community, just felt like I was checking boxes, and I love the job I was at Game Changer, but I really wanted to say, what can we do more? What's the most impactful way we can kind of contribute to our community? And I've always had this entrepreneur bug. My dad has owned his own businesses. My brother obviously has owned his own businesses. And so we decided that's something we wanted to kind of dive into. And then it kind of became a natural segue to say, what business should we be in? What do we know the most about? Through my brother. And then he helped us kind of start conceptualizing what a hand car wash would look like here. Because, Charlottesville being smaller than Houston, smaller market, we really felt like we didn't necessarily want to be competing, if you will, with some of the bigger, established car washes. There's Clean Machine on Pantops and Whitehorse up on 29. We just thought, what's something that we can do a little different? And obviously with my brother with the hand car wash, we felt, okay, is this something we could do in Charlottesville? Could it be viable? There's nothing really like it around, which I thought was great. And will the weather kind of help us and be not as bad as some people kind of maybe assume? And I think that's probably why it's never been done, right? It's a northern climate compared to Texas or Florida, where you see a lot of them. So we kind of hit on that, and then it just became about where to put it. 29 or Pantops, kind of the only 2 that make sense. Really, from a traffic standpoint, you need volume to kind of drive the business, and so that's how we kind of landed on where we are. We're right between Cookout and Bodo's, right? It's easy to find. It's kind of hard to get to though, because you can only go on the northbound side, so you got to come from the Barracks roadside, but. We love it. It's been almost 4 years in April, so we're really excited. Really having finally having a normal year. When we opened 2018, it rained that whole year. I mean, it was the wettest year on record, as Alex can probably attest to with the vineyard later. So you had all the rain, and then you have COVID in 2020. So it's really been a tough couple of years to kind of start a business, but we've kind of elbowed our way out a little bit, and we're really excited for what the future holds.
Yeah. So I'm curious about 2 things. One is you mentioned baseball. Did you play baseball for UVA?
I did. I played baseball here for
position?
Coach Womack and then Coach O'Connor.
Okay. Oh wow. All right.
So I transitioned both, and I was hurt my 3rd year, so I sat out my 4th year and played a 5th year for Coach O'Connor. I was a pitcher. I played a little third base my first year, and then some guy named Ryan Zimmerman decided to enroll at UVA, and sad to say, I couldn't hit like he could. I definitely couldn't field it, so I was like, well, Jeff, you're going to be on the mound for time being. It's probably the best thing, right? So, I ended up having a really nice career here, and then got the opportunity to play professionally for a few years, so that was awesome. And, really grateful for that, and that was with Tampa Bay, so for 4 years.
Okay.
Yep. Minors only.
Fantastic. Well,
that's great.
Being Yankee fans, we're glad you didn't play against us.
Well, I always had some stories. When you're in spring training, all the big league guys are around. And
that's right, yeah.
They always say, hey, what's the hardest stadium to pitch in? Tampa Bay because it's so empty all the time, and you can hear every fan in the stands. Well, what's the easiest stadium to pitch in? Yankee Stadium, because you can't hear a thing. It's just all white noise, basically, which I thought was interesting.
That's interesting, yeah.
There's a Yankee story for you.
There you go. Love it. Love it.
I almost would have thought the opposite, right? I mean, maybe this is that, there's so much loud noise against the opposing team that you get nervous, but, I guess only if you're the closer, right?
It's
if you're
the
closer,
weirdest
gotta
thing.
be a
It's
little-
the louder it is. If they all blend together,
Yeah.
you can't really pick out a voice. But Florida State and Clemson had these couple of hecklers that were really good at getting their voice piercing through the crowd, so they could get in your head a little bit. And so I think one of them's called the Whistler at Clemson or something. He's still doing his thing.
He's got a name.
Jerry's head popped up over there. So. But yeah, those guys, if you let them and you don't really focus in, yeah, that can be nerve-wracking for sure. But no, I mean, honestly, it's one of the greatest experiences of my life being able to play here, obviously, and then coming back here. I mean, Charlottesville's such a wonderful community that as every time I would end a baseball season, I'd always just kind of fell back here. Whether it was giving baseball lessons in the off season, I fell in love with the mountains because I really didn't experience that at UVA. You really don't leave the bubble a whole lot. At least back then you didn't. There was no Uber, there was no Lyft. You couldn't get out and about really if you didn't have a car, and so. You basically just stayed right around grounds, right? And so as I came back, I played more golf and got to be out in the mountains more, which reminded me of my childhood. In the summers, we would go to South Dakota in the Black Hills, and really just kind of felt like home. And then all of my teammates were always around the area, so it just kind of became this central place. And my wife went to JMU, so once that all happened, it was done deal.
Yeah,
I was going to be in Virginia.
You were coming back to Charlottesville. It was
That's
meant to be. It was meant to
That's
be.
right.
Now, I had another question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So could you tell me a little bit the difference between a tunnel wash and your hand wash?
So there's different styles of car washes, and there's probably a handful. I think the most common that you typically would experience, there's models, right? So a great example is Clean Machine and or White Horse would be considered a full service tunnel wash, meaning the tunnel does all the washing, and then they have a team of people that completes the service, whether they're drying the car, doing the tires, the windows, the vacuuming, which is what we do. We do a full service, but it's hand wash.
Okay.
So we have a team of guys that wash the cars by hand. We don't have this big equipment package. We're actually building a car wash in Zion Crossroads right now. We're currently under construction, and that's called an express tunnel. The difference in that is the machine does all the washing, the same as those other businesses I just mentioned. And by the way, those are great businesses. And the customer has the option of doing the vacuum themselves at the end of the service. There's no team at the end.
Okay.
So it's less labor. It's less labor intensive. I wouldn't say the quality is less. It's just the service is different, right? And so the customer is really utilizing the service for expediency. It's really quick. The wash takes 2 or 3 minutes, and then you can just shoot on out and go about your day without doing having anything else done. And if you want to, the vacuums are free, and so you can keep costs down a little bit. Your labor costs are obviously lower, but your cost of entry for a customer can also be relatively more affordable, if you will.
Exactly.
And in a community like Zion, which they have one car wash out there, I think it's a perfect fit for that because it lets you service everybody in the community, whereas our service at the hand wash, the way we're priced and the way we're structured and our speed, it takes time to go through a hand wash.
Sure.
You're going to be spending 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour if you have some higher end services, or longer if a detail package is bought. So it's just different. And so in Charlottesville, you have those customers, and being a tighter community, people can get around town a little easier. They can get a ride, coordinate that kind of thing. So we just feel like that'll work in Zion. But in Charlottesville, we love the hand wash option because it just provides one other option for folks to go to. So yeah, that's what we like to do.
So what's sort of the process if someone comes to the hand car wash? What are some of the things that are done there that's different than like your?
Sure. So I mean, the main difference, right, is going to be the hand component of it, right? We're building a tunnel with machines in it, so this is not a poo-poo of machines.
Yeah.
This is the idea of when you touch a car with your hands, you can do different things, you can see different things, you can focus on different areas, you can do different levels of service because you're literally putting your fingertips on a car. You can feel the paint surface, you can feel if there's something on it, you can feel maybe small pieces, little bits of damage in the car. You can feel if there's a wax on it. You can look at the undercarriage or the wheel wells and really get in with a pressure washer and target some different areas for cleaning them out. And some people do think that it's safer on the paint surface of your car. I like to think that it is for certain people and different types of vehicles. But the technology is coming along in the car wash industry where the machines in tunnels are getting really, really good, and they're really safe. But at the same time, if you go through a tunnel, let's imagine this. You're getting all this service, it's washing your undercarriage and your wheels and does a quick wash, and you come out and the blowers hit the car. On a tunnel, it's not going to hit the lip up underneath where your windshield wiper might be on an SUV, right? Where our team can go in with drying towels, and they're really going to focus on doing that. They're going to open the doors and do the door jams. So we're really focused on the service, the quality of service, and working with our customer to figure out what they actually need and try to coordinate that. Whereas, we can basically do anything with a hand wash. We can use any gadget that we have, whether it's a pressure washer, different types of pressure washer, different types of chemical. We could foam can in a car versus just using soap. We can just do so many different options and variable services quickly and easily, right? Because we're right there. But the cost of that is speed, right? You can't just roll on a track and just roll it through. Right. So, and it's also labor, right? We have to have more head count to service all of that. So those are the challenges of the hand wash, but that's why we like doing it. The other reason too is, we just felt there's a niche in the market, a spot in the market to say, hey, look, there is this, kind of clientele that says they're really interested in having that type of service, and that's just what we're going to do, and we're going to provide that. So I don't ever look at other car washes as competitors. I look at it as an industry that says, hey, as the industry is doing better, we'll have opportunity as well.
Exactly. As the whole industry grows, there's going to be people that, and it could be sometimes, I'm thinking almost the same people, but sometimes you're in a rush, you need to just, I haven't cleaned my car in a couple months, I just need to run through this tunnel.
I mean, I can't tell how many times people come in and we'll have a long line, maybe it's a Saturday, and we're out to the road with 20 cars in line. That's going to take an hour and 15 minutes to get through the line. And somebody says, hey, I just need to get a quick wash. Hey, you know what? White Horse is right up the road. They're great. They can get you through a lot quicker than we can. We hate to lose the business, but we want to serve you, right? Like I actually brought some of our brand guidelines and promises, and like one of the first things I wrote on here was customer first, right? It's like, it is not about we have to have your business all the time because we're going to try to hoard it. It's, hey, what's the best thing for you? And if that's somewhere else, I hate to say it, but maybe that is the best thing today. I don't want it to be,
and
but
at that moment, and it could be that there's going to be a time where they'll come back and say, you know what, I've been through the tunnel, but I actually haven't cleaned this part of my car where the tire is in ages. I need to go and have it hand car washed because I can't. So it could be that the same customer at two different times.
Well, you're creating a relationship with, you're building trust, right? You're serving them, and they know and they feel. Any customer that has that experience says, "Hey, look, they're not just after my buck; they're after my, earning my business." And I always like to write it when I answer whenever we get a review online, whether it's good or bad. I answer every one myself, and I always lead with just, we appreciate the opportunity to serve you. We are honored that you would allow us to serve you, to earn your business. That is something that in just today's society, right? It's just not done enough anymore. Yeah. And so and it's another one of our values. It's service first. It's what can we do to assist you, to serve you, to take care of you, to treat you well with respect. Do we bat 1,000? No, we're not perfect, right? But if you have that as your mindset every single time you serve somebody, over and over and over, then it's part of your habit. It's part of who you become. It's part of who everybody knows you to be, and so that's what we've tried to focus on.
Absolutely. Reminds me of the old Aristotle quote that excellence.
I was going to say something.
We already repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say this. Remember the miracle on 34th Street where the Santa sends a couple of people to different stores, right? And at first they're aghast. It's how could they do that? And then one lady says, I've never done much shopping here in Macy's, but from now on I'm going to do a lot of shopping. Well, it's the same thing. If you say, listen, somebody else at this point, somebody else can do this for you because we're not, next time say, wow, that was very nice of them. And it's like, next time I'm going over there, right? Just maybe pick a different time, a little later time of the day or earlier or whatever. But yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Do a lot of people get wax jobs, or is
We
that
do.
okay.
I'd say from a pure numbers perspective, I'd say about 60 to 70% of our business is what I would kind of put in the detail category, where
Okay.
it's like you're doing full level details or wax services. That includes like our recurring memberships. While our washes are high volume, they're most of our service throughout the year. Most of our revenue actually, it's detail to wash is split like 50-50, but we only do maybe 10% of the detail volume that we'll do on a hand wash in terms of like car count. So we have kind of transitioned that, and that was actually a COVID byproduct. We had to, a lot of businesses did this, right, is you have to pivot quickly. And so I learned this. I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to throw a little shout out to my old boss, Ted Sullivan at Game Changer. He had this quote, or this saying, fail fast. Which implies you're going to fail. If you try to hold on to it, it's a losing proposition. You're going to be out of business. But if you fail fast and learn from it, you can evolve quickly, right? And you can progress. And so what we were doing for our first couple of years of business, we were trying to fail fast. COVID really accentuated that, and we really had to take some drastic measures. Like we closed for 90 days, was one of them. But then we had to start thinking about how do we, if we're not going to have the volume, we were worried about having volume, we have to up our detail side of the business, our wax side of the business. So what we did was we went full in on booking your stuff online, because that was a big deal. We didn't do that before, right? Before it was all call in or you walked in.
Right.
So we allowed people to book any service they wanted online. We pivoted to our members and appointments only on Mondays and Tuesdays to kind of give them more value so we could up our membership count. And then we went down to our detail bay. My general manager, Jared, and I, we actually restriped the whole parking lot during COVID. We got out with road paint, and we built our own stencils, if you will. I guess that's the right way to use it. And we redid our detail section to be able to do, instead of doing 2 cars, which is what we could before, we now can do 5 at one time.
Just by reorganizing the space.
Just relaying it out. And then we also changed how we flowed cars. We used to, we've had different car routes on our property, and we basically did it so that all the volume stays at the front on the Emmett Street side of the business, and so the cars will come and U-turn out and head back out to Emmett Street, and then all of our detail business will be at the back, which is just more open space for them. And then we tried to start cross-training all our employees to be able to just do more services. Because most of our team has not washed cars before when they come to us. So if they haven't washed a car, they can't detail a car, right? So we had to start cross-training them, and so most of our team can at least do like the passable entry-level detail or something like that. So, and then we started, focusing on really training up or finding some more of those, trained detailers from other, that were looking for other jobs. We don't poach anybody. We don't offer people jobs from other businesses. That's just not how we do things. But if people start coming to us and apply, then we will start to identify who those people were and try to see if we had enough business to hire them. And we're still looking for more detailers. We only do 2 to 3 details at a time, and we can do 5. So we have room to grow, which is nice.
That is fantastic. It's amazing to hear how something like, I feel like almost some of the ways you responded to the challenges that were in 2020 sort of put you in an even better position going forward. It's like, even as things, return to a semblance of normalcy or go back, that you'll keep some of these things because
100%.
they are helpful even going forward.
100%. So when COVID kind of started to, I wouldn't say wind down, it's still ongoing obviously, but as like the lockdowns and the staying home kind of started to subside, we kept the Monday and Tuesday appointment only and members only. People like that. People like being able to say, I got a set time to come in and get my car washed. I know it won't take as long because you're reducing your volume intentionally. And then our membership actually started to grow a little bit too, because our members started seeing more value, because it's like, hey, we have a Monday through Thursday membership. Well, on Thursday, everybody tries to squeeze in before the weekend. But if you were to leverage Mondays and Tuesdays, they'll come in those days and like, oh, it's a lot faster here. I kind of like it. I'll just do those days.
Exactly.
So that was a big one that really did it. And then we actually completely changed how we interview people too. I'll be honest, when we first opened the business, I had no idea what I was doing interviewing. I would just take anybody that wanted to say they wanted to wash cars, and we completely changed that, and now it's completely automated. So what we do is there's a full application online, and it's long. It's 5 pages long, and that's on purpose.
Yeah.
That's on
It's
purpose.
on purpose.
Right? Can you get through all of these questions I'm asking? You know, the information's important, but the task is what I'm looking
That's
for.
right.
The second thing is, and there's a guy I used to work with, his name's Harris Oserman. He owns a company called Talk Digital, and he actually was doing these automated interviews online. So if he can actually plug into your Google hiring application form, take the mobile number out of it, text you a link so that you can apply. You can do an online automated interview over the phone. The questions are read to you, and you record your answers, and then that goes into a spreadsheet that I can see, and it also does voice to text, so I can read them too. So now I can literally.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I don't even look at a candidate until I have both of those steps done. I can then go read the interview, then I can listen to the interview, then I can look at the application, and then I can have them come in for the third step, which is an in-person interview. And if they show up on time and don't bomb the interview, like, you're probably going to get a job offer, right? Because you can do the things that we find valuable, which is really show up on time and do it and follow the task at hand. Right. And really that just comes down to me, that's a character thing, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have high character? Will you do the things that we ask you to do when you say you're going to do them without excuses, and show up? And our retention has gone way through the roof on those types of people. Our turnover is so much lower than it used to be. And so that was another COVID byproduct, right? Because we were like, we have to find better people. And so our team is just phenomenal right now. We have just a great group of guys, and one girl. We would love to have more women. It's just we don't have those applicants, so I don't know how we get more.
If there are women watching, you can apply.
Yes. There you are.
There's so many growth opportunities.
Absolutely.
And they're looking for you. Oh, got some more people watching our show. We got Pamela Murray. Thank you for watching. Mike Malia, Elizabeth Lamarche. Thank you for watching the show today. Fantastic.
Hey,
oh, nice.
How's it going, G? Happy anniversary.
There you go. Live on air, happy anniversary. Got that one in there. Fantastic. So just before we let you go, recap, where can people find you again? And if they want to check out online, where can they
Sure.
go look?
The best way to go to find us is online, aquacville.com, just like it sounds, AQUACville.com. You can literally do anything on our website. We actually just revamped it today. We have some new pricing that went into place today and some new structures, but you can book appointments there. You can book details, waxes. You can find all the information you need on each service. You can request a quote. If you don't know what you need done, you can write that in. And then if you're just looking to drive by and stop in, we're at 1300 Emmett Street North. We're right north of Barracks Road Shopping Center before you get to the bypass. So if you're thinking about how do I get to Bodo's, we're right there. However, if you're coming around the bypass, what you want to do is go down to Barracks Road exit and then come up from Barracks Road. That's the easiest way to do it. And we'll take care of you. Our managers, Jared and Chris, who are second to none, will greet you. They'll talk to you about what it is you're looking to get done. They'll suggest something to you. And guess what? If that doesn't fit for your time frame or your budget, that's fine too. Just tell them, and we can do that another time.
That's
Fabulous.
Fantastic. That is awesome.
Yeah. No, that's great.
That is awesome. Well, be sure to check it out.
aquacville.com.
Jeff, thanks so much for joining us
Thank you,
today.
Jeff.
Thanks for
Great.
having me,
This is
guys.
Absolutely
Yeah, this is
fantastic.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Very informative. I like that.
I know.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. Just
It's
like
incredible how many.
entrepreneurship
And it's incredible, how what, as bad as the pandemic was, how people were able to take that information, right, and then say, hey, we need to change our business, or we need to improve it, or we need to think about it, and all those changes, how in reality improved long term what the businesses
What the
did.
business is doing.
That was amazing. That was really good.
amazing.
So that was
Fantastic.
I was impressed, to
I
be
know.
honest with you. Yeah,
It was, and just I love these interviews where we learn so much, not just what the business does, but also like what goes into it.
Yeah, exactly.
What's involved with being an entrepreneur, and the passion you have to have, but also the ingenuity to be able to shift on a dime, the ability to sort of work with people and analyze what's needed. I think that's the beauty of it, right? I think it's sometimes easy to forget because we think of entrepreneurs and we think of small business owners and we're like, oh, they're the one making the profit. And it's like, well, go back to Economics 101. Profit is value added. right? That's
right.
where it comes from. And so you sit there and say, to analyze and say, here's a value, here's a niche, something that's not being served. Let me add value to that. And when you add that value, that's what comes out and looks like on the bottom line like profit. But what it really is value. You've added value to someone's day.
Yeah.
And then that shows up.
No, there's no doubt about that. You can see it in every single interview that we have when we have people in here. I mean, they're not interviews; it's just
Conversations.
Conversations.
Chats.
In addition to the passion, it's exactly that, right? They love what they do, and they add that value that larger companies cannot compete against that, right? So it's wonderful.
It's the beauty of the small business.
Yep.
And from one great small business owner to another, we're really excited to welcome to the show now Craig Colbert. He's the owner of 12 Ridges Vineyard. Craig, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be here.
Great to have you on. So, tell us. I had the opportunity beforehand, which obviously, if you're listening, you can go check this out, to look at your website and to see just the beautiful space that is up there at 12 Ridges. So, I'd love to learn a little bit about yourself, like how you came to start 12 Ridges, how you found the space, and a little bit about your story.
And are there really 12 ridges around you? Is that how it came about, or?
I'll answer the 12 ridges and why we're that to begin with.
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, there are far more than 12 ridges around the property itself. However, if you look from a particular spot in a particular line, you can actually count 12 ridges in a row far into the horizon.
Okay.
That's amazing.
So it is amazing. It's actually quite unique in that way. Yeah, and I never really had a passion early on in my life to have a vineyard. However, about 11 years ago, when my wife and I actually purchased the property, we considered many different things about what we would do with it, and it happens to be in an incredible location. And it really took us years to figure out what to do, and it wasn't until about 5 years ago that we began to think that we could do something unique at the top of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the state of Virginia. And it was really through a confluence of a number of things that we came to that decision, not the least of which is just learning a little bit about high-altitude wines. And high-altitude wines are unique within the industry. They certainly are. It presented an opportunity of being unique within the state of Virginia, for sure. And we did a lot of research then, soil tests, and reading about was this possible to actually have a vineyard at 3,300 feet.
Wow.
Which is up there.
At the top of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And that obviously led us to this vision of having a beautiful vineyard in a beautiful venue and that people could enjoy. And so that's how it more or less came about. And since then, we've had one partner join us in the effort, and my family is involved. And so it's a joy. And the vision is still unfolding at this point as well, which is exciting.
That always is, that when you just sort of see it there, but it's not over yet. It's almost like, I'm someone who loves writing, so almost like I feel like writing a novel, but you haven't gotten to the ending quite yet.
Right, well, vision has a lot to do with not just size, okay? Vision has a lot to do with beauty, for example. And one of the things that attracted me initially to even think about a vineyard was the beauty of a vineyard, and architecturally, literally, and aesthetically, how it can appear and draw your eyes into the mountains or draw your eyes into a particular view, in our case of the Shenandoah Valley and the Blue Ridge Mountains. So that's a continuing vision. And as we put in more and more vines over the course of the next several years, we hope to actually get to a point where we have 30 acres altogether. Today we only have 12 acres. But I might add, I thought 12 acres wasn't all that much. I can tell you, it is a lot.
It's a lot.
Growing vines is not like growing tomatoes or corn, and they all need individual attention. and it's much more complicated.
Is it harder to grow grapes in that altitude than in a lower altitude, and what kind of grapes grow well there?
Well, there are different issues that we face rather than what they face down in the valley, for example. Obviously, temperature and wintertime temperature. We would begin to have a problem perhaps with the root system of the vines if it dropped below 10 below zero.
Okay.
And we get close to that
Yeah.
at that altitude. Not every year, but it often drops below zero. So you have that as an issue. You also have the issue of a shorter growing season. Your start is later, and your potential finish could be earlier because the first frost is likely to happen at that altitude, rather
Sure.
than down in the valley. So, those are some of the primary things that we deal with. We also have to deal with wind up there, and that is also a factor. And so we had to build a trellis system that had an extra wire in there, so that that simply prevented the vines from flopping over.
Oh, okay. On strong windy
you need
days.
to get them
Okay.
upright.
Okay.
So, those are the obvious things that make it different. But the other really key difference is that we have a very different soil composition at that altitude than any other place, even down in the Shenandoah Valley or central Virginia. It's dramatically different than down at this level.
Wow.
And so what that means is our clay content is significantly less.
Okay.
The soil itself is not, it's much more permeable as a result of less clay, and it's a stony soil as well, which is really, that was a fantastic surprise for us, and it was something that we didn't know existed when we bought the farm, so
Right.
to speak. But consider it a gift, as we have discovered. So that's really a very good thing. Now, that does not mean that we have uniform soil throughout the 30 acres that we're going to be putting in, or the additional acreage. I mean, some of it is a more granite-like composition, and some of it might be what's called a green rock, I think, is a word for it. And
Okay.
a geologist would understand the difference.
Okay.
I'm not.
But all of that, I just changes the nature of the wines that you'll eventually grow there.
It does. It has a huge influence on it. Right now we have Chardonnay, Riesling, Pinot Gris, and Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Pinot Noir is our only red that we are trying to grow. There is some potential for a Gamay in the future, but that right now that looks like those two would be the reds that we would have. We had our first harvest this year, though, so we began to we saw the sort of the chemical composition of the results of that harvest, and they were exceptional. And
Good.
I felt vindicated
Yeah,
after all of these years, thinking that actually
it
we
takes-
could
it
really
takes
grow
time.
wine, grow grapes up there. And no, we were very, very pleased with the composition. And so we're going to be doing more Chardonnay and Pinot Gris and Riesling as well. But notably, though, because of the shorter growing season, you often have your sugar levels need to be rising throughout the entire growing season.
Correct.
Our concern initially was that the growing season would not be long enough to allow us to get to a good still wine. But a sparkling wine, you need to get what's known as a level of about 18 bricks altogether. Still wines are typically above 20, 21, 22, just to give you a frame of reference there. So what happened, though, is we did get to a sparkling, and the weather was conducive enough for us to leave enough grapes. We left about 80% of the grapes on the vine this year for 3 more weeks. And that brought the sugar levels up to about 23 bricks altogether,
Okay.
which means that we can also do still wine. as well.
Which is
We're
fascinating.
not just limited to a Blanc de Noir, which would be made with the Pinot Noir, or a Blanc de Blanc, which is made with the Chardonnay.
Interesting.
Now,
Go ahead.
I was going to say,
Sure.
would that altitude be conducive to doing ice wine? Or,
Good question. I mean, an ice wine, as I understand it, you leave it on and it
Exactly.
freezes.
Right. That's what I was-
It sounds like it'd be perfect, doesn't it?
But maybe it needs to also, I don't know if it needs, I don't know enough about ice wine myself,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it needs to get to that sugar level.
Yeah, that's
also,
a very
and
high
then-
sugar
Yeah,
sugar
yeah,
content there.
because they are on the sweeter side.
You know, we have. I mean, I doubt whether we will be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just curious, yeah.
So.
Because I know, just so sparkling, I know is one of the things you were, does your website mention like traditional sparkling? And so what sort of drew you to that? Was it just a part of the nature of where you're located? And what are some of the things that you do with the traditional method that you talked about there?
Well, the traditional method, there are essentially three different methods of making sparkling wine. One is the traditional method. Well, that's the French double fermentation method, and it takes probably about 3 years to 3.5 years, actually, between harvest and actual drinking of that wine. There's another method called Charmat, which actually speeds up that same process. It's still a double fermentation, but you do it in a large vat, a stainless steel vat, rather than having a lot of that process take place in individual bottles. Okay, and then there's the third method, which is a forced carbonation method. Right now, it looks like on our first sparkling harvest, we will end up doing a traditional method.
Nice.
So, unfortunately, Alex, that means
So we
you
have to wait a few-
3
yeah.
years. Yeah.
I was about to
But,
say, bummer. I have to wait 3 years.
well, we're as disappointed in the time as well. So.
Imagine.
But is it much better, though? Is the flavor of the sparkling wine better when you do it the traditional way?
It has a reputation. The French, of course, would.
course, yes,
I
Insist on
mean,
it.
there's no
In that
way
case,
you
it's
can
done,
make
yeah.
it any other way. There is some conjecture over this, though.
Okay, yeah. But when you force the fermentation, are you injecting...
Forced carbonation?
Yeah, forced carbonation, yes.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean, I
meant to
guess
say.
it's sort of like making soda stream.
Okay, yeah,
you know,
so
that's-
that would be the
that-
least preferable.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
But that's amazing that you're able to do the traditional process and really
Yeah, it really
just- Just the quality and the reputation will be there as a result of having done it. I'm curious, in addition to the wines, I mean, you mentioned the beauty of the space. What are some of the things people can expect when they go up there to the tasting room and to be up there even now?
Right. Well, right now, our tasting room has been open for almost 2 years at this point. And what we are doing is we're featuring other high-altitude wines from around the world. So we're giving people a taste of what those wines are like.
Okay.
And as an example, say Chardonnay is grown in France, obviously, and it's the sort of the French way of doing it, and they would call it a Chablis, is for the most part a little bit lighter, a little bit more acidic. A little bit less yellow if you were to look at the color than if you had a California Chardonnay. California Chardonnays, I'm generalizing here, but tend to be buttery, creamy, heavier, deeper yellow in coloration. And so where we are going with ours is more the European way.
Okay.
And I think that's a pretty significant difference.
It is.
Sorry, follow.
So on the just what are sort of when people go up there? I mean, I guess the tasting room is
that's
designed
right, yeah.
in such a way.
So we have a fantastic selection right now of other wines from around the world that are somewhat indicative of the style that we are going to have there. We also have, a fair number of people that are showing up already. I mean, just as a destination, a place to go for the afternoon. We have a lot of wide open space there as well. Ironically, COVID, I won't say it helped us, but I don't know if it helped us or not. But because of our wide open space that we had and people could just put a blanket on the ground, we had hundreds and hundreds of people.
Wow, that's great.
On a weekend that is a busy weekend for us, we can have 750 people, maybe 1,000 people show up.
Wow.
And nobody
that's
feels
impressive.
crowded.
Yeah, that's
Nobody
impressive.
Such
feels
a large,
crowded.
a large space. Because I mean, it's located, correct me if I'm wrong, at the top of a hill, such that you have 360-degree views of the mountains.
Right, and a friend of mine calls it the pinnacle of God's creation on the East Coast. So, and he's a dear friend. I've never forgot that expression after he said it. So
That's a great one.
It's a
And,
great
that's-
slogan.
yeah,
really-
it is.
Come
It
to
really
Ridge
is.
the
But it
pinnacle.
is a 360-degree view, and
That's
it
amazing.
is magnificent. And people, a lot of people have said if you're familiar with The Sound of Music and the opening scene there, Julie Andrews coming in over
That's
the
right.
meadow and everything.
The hills are all that.
So many people have said that reminds them of that.
Wow.
So.
That is, if you're a music fan, you can reenact it out there.
So
This
we
is-
don't have to go to
Right
Austria,
up-
just
Yeah,
tell Rich.
we'll play the music for you. If you
There you
so.
go. If you want to come and sing it. So that's amazing. Because it just, and what I love is that you're sort of previewing for people
Yeah.
what to expect in the future. So I'd come out here, enjoy this beautiful space, take the views in, and enjoy some wines and begin to learn about the wines that are going to be made. I mean, 3 years from now, that are going to be made
Yeah.
at 12 Ridges.
Well, as a business, this is you. It's not as if everybody knows the difference between high altitude wines and normal wines.
Exactly.
So it is a little bit of an educational process right now. I think it's an educational opportunity as well. And I think, from a business point of view and how we brand ourselves, that's really what we want to be known as. I mean, we want to be known as the, sort of unapologetically aspirational, best cool climate wine in the state of Virginia. I mean, that's where I'd like to take us.
East Coast.
Exactly.
East Coast.
East Coast.
There you are.
There you go. There you go. I like that. Think bigger.
Absolutely.
What's up, Virginia?
I mean, where you are, I mean, if it's the pinnacle.
That's
I mean,
right.
It can't get any better.
That's right. And we also have some near-term plans for a residence club up there as well, and that's quite exciting. We're also putting in a new road into the vineyard area itself, and if anybody's been there, they would know that there's a single-lane road off of the Blue Ridge Parkway right now. Well, we are putting in a new road off of a state road, which allows us to do a double lane. So that's going to be very helpful.
Okay.
I can imagine. So I mean, for people who haven't been there, where are you guys located, and what's sort of a generally easy way to find you?
Sure. The easiest way to find us is just to recognize that we are at milepost 25 on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Okay.
And for those of us who live in Charlottesville, the way that you would get there, you could go to the top of Afton Mountain, you get on the Blue Ridge Parkway there, and you go 25 miles south. If you remember, Blue Ridge Parkway goes one way, Skyline Drive goes the other way. Skyline Drive goes north, Blue Ridge Parkway goes south.
Okay.
And so it's exactly 25 miles. On the left-hand side, you can't miss it because of all the vines. As soon as you see a vineyard, it's the
That's it.
only one.
There you go.
So you will recognize you're in the right spot.
That is fantastic.
Wonderful.
And I think the website is 12ridges.com, but with the number 12.
It is, yes, you can use the number or the word,
Or the word.
12ridges.com, and the residences are 12ridgesresidences.com.
12ridgesresidences.com. And you got this event. Bonnie Tolbert is sharing today's show. Thank you for sharing, Bonnie. And Johnny and William Clark also sharing today's show. So thanks, Johnny, William, Bonnie. Thanks for watching us today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my sister-in-law.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, great. Thank you so much.
Alex,
for coming
thank you.
on.
you. Yeah.
Come visit.
Oh,
Absolutely,
We
yeah.
are
I mean,
definitely-
even just
see
for
you
the
there.
view, and obviously, nothing wrong with tasting wine while you're at it.
That's right. That's
Exactly.
right.
Thanks for coming on. Really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. Always just love having people on who just you can see the passion for what they do, the excitement that they
Well-
have for the vision.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought, to be honest with you, that was a great idea to have the wines of different areas,
Different
of
areas.
the world, so that you have an idea
In
as
the
to the
style
kind
that you will be
exactly
making.
you're going to produce. That was a great idea. It really was. That's
That
a
is.
great marketing idea.
Yes,
right?
fantastic.
Because
Fantastic
it's good to know what kind of wines are going to be grown here, and so you get a feel and a flavor for it. And wow, that's great. And there's good explanation the difference, because there is, as you know, there is a large difference between the Chardonnays that you get from literally almost Europe versus California, right? And so to be able to taste that, I think would be a good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree completely. It's just always such a
Another
pleasure.
fun, another fun Thursday.
Always such a
Another fun
pleasure.
today, mañana.
I know, it is. It really is amazing. It's just look forward to it every week. Coming on here with you and talking with some great.
Same here.
some
I
great
feel the same
guests.
way about you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
We always talk about what happens if one of us is out. Well, you're gonna have to peel me out of this place every
I know,
week,
it's
right?
true,
Because I'm
it's
enjoying it
true.
more and more.
We'll have to force you
Like,
off.
what? A
off
client
the
coming
set.
on Thursday? Have somebody else take care of it.
Exactly. And next week we're gonna have an exciting time too. It'll be, I think, a really informative social. We're gonna do a case study.
Oh, case study.
Financial
Okay.
case study. We're going to bring together some insurance expertise in the
All
form
right.
of Christelle Noel, State Farm agent. We're going to bring in some real estate expertise in the form of Keith Smith.
Okay.
And we're going to bring in some financial expertise in the form of Xavier Irving.
Wow.
So we're going to
That's-
combine some great
that
knowledge.
the expertise level just dropped there. Is that what I?
Funny, you got to do a better pitch than that. You got to market. Talk about marketing. You got to market is
Well,
great expertise, fantastic.
It's the other three guys that emerged.
Oh, you're
Really.
too generous, too generous. So they're going to put it all together, right, and sort of go through a financial life and say what are things that you need to think about as a holistic whole
It's a good
in
idea.
certain life situations, and how all these pieces, real estate, insurance, financial planning, investment, come together as part of your financial life. So
That's
that'll
great.
be-
No, that's a great
it's going to be
idea.
a really exciting, informative show. I mean, Christelle and Keith, as we know, they're both really excited about what they do.
Yes.
Great camaraderie. So I think we're going to have a great just conversation for a nice hour.
Looking
Talk
forward to
about
it.
Looking forward. Same here. Same here. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Quick shout out to all our friends that participated in First Street Holiday Fair this past Saturday. It was a beautiful day. We were able to go out there today, mañana. Just the Vitae Spirits had some fantastic. We had some fantastic hot apple
heard.
cider, salted caramel apple cider was amazing.
Put a little bit of something on the.
With a little bit of something
Okay.
that may or may not have been in there, and his selection, of course, was fantastic. Darling Boutique across the street, they had put together some great artisans, so it was really a fantastic time. I heard it got really packed. Around 12, lots of people came out to hear Lily Graciela sing. And enjoy just the food, the wine, the food of sombreros, and the spirits at Vitae. So it was just a great time on a holiday weekend.
Well, I hope they continue. I hope they do more, and certainly hope that tradition even grows going forward.
Absolutely. Just looking forward to more and more of it.
Yeah, the more exposure to the small businesses and arts and crafts people get here, I think the better
The
it is.
better.
Yeah.
The better. So just really appreciate all the work that went into that. 'Cause I know that's
Yeah.
a lot of effort on the part of those businesses on First Street.
It is.
So just quick shout out to them. Quick shout out, of course, to our partners and our friends that we love to highlight: Emergent Financial Services, Vitae Spirits, Christelle Noel, State Farm Agent, GBS Financial Services, and Seaville Picnic. As always love being on the I Love Seaville set. Just a
It certainly is a lot of fun being here.
beautiful
And
space, a lot of fun. Judah, as always, does a fantastic job.
oh, thanks
Maybe that's all
thanks to
good.
Jude. I don't have to do anything. I just hear and
No.
chat and ask
He
some
literally
questions.
even points you where to sit. He's like,
Absolutely,
sit there.
yeah.
And you come in.
And he gives you the thumbs up once in a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think he was giving it to to the visitors.
No, you too. He's like, don't worry, you're okay. You look all right. I fixed it.
Yeah.
Whatever you were doing wrong, he fixed
That's
it.
right.
He solved it.
Even the mumbling of the words, I fixed that
I
too.
fixed
Don't
that,
worry
too.
about
I
it.
fixed that. You know, he brought up our intelligence level a little bit too. He's got, you know, he has the little bars for the microphone volume. He also has an intelligence bar. He's like, Howard and Xavier, they need a little boost today. Let's push this up.
Thank you, Judah.
But just always love being here. Always love
Yes.
being here with you, and
Thank
always love you, our audience, for watching. Thanks for sharing today. Thanks for watching and letting people know about Today Mañana. As always, send us entrepreneurs you'd love to be featured. Send us any questions you want us to cover in the opening segment. Just love your participation as the audience and the fact that you continue to support us. You're why we're here.
Exactly.
And so just wish you all a wonderful week, and we will see you next week. But until that time, next Thursday, we will see you. Hasta mañana.